Hello there, welcome to another session with the Web Warriors. Really excited about this session, and we're going to show you the difference between responsive websites and optimizing for specific devices. So stay tuned for this one. So in this session, we're going to look at, you may have heard of the concept of a responsive website, and I'll show you what I mean by this. You can actually have a look at responsive website to check if yours is responsive right now on your browser. It's simple as just resizing your browser, and if you adjust your browser, most browsers will have some little thing where you can adjust the window. You can actually resize it, so it's probably about the size of a phone, just to check out what the website looks like. Now I'm going to show you this site specifically. So this is an entrepreneurial website. They needed a website when they were pitching to corporate, where it's a little bit about the business, and they didn't know whether people were going to be viewing it on desktop or mobile. Now when we design any page on any site on for any website, we always optimize it for mobile. So I'll show you what this looks like. So say someone right now, before we'd actually optimized it, had a look at this page on mobile. What you'd see is the logo, the name of the page, and then you scroll down and you'd see heaps and heaps and heaps of text. You'd see a couple of images here, and I'll show you why that is in a second, a couple of logos. Then you'd see a whole lot of text, some images all stacked on top of one another, then some more text, and a couple of images stacked on top of one another, and a whole bunch of text at the bottom. So you could probably get away with it, but in our mind, it could be done a whole lot better. So if we just expand back out to the desktop site, what we're looking at here, so we've got a couple of logos at the bottom of the text here. So one's for the Troublemakers Network, one's for one of their programs called the Breakout. Some example images on the right hand side here. So we've got a big feature image, 3 images next to each other. This area here, which is fairly normal, 50-50 split. And then on the left hand side here, featured image and 3 images stacked on top of one another, next to each other once again. And then a bit about the portfolios of the different people. So one's on this side, one's on that side, and then just some about the programs that they offer at the bottom. So once again, featured image and 3 images next to each other. Now, before we optimize this for mobile, all we're seeing is all these images stacked together, a whole bunch of texts, the profile pictures of each of the people, just in weird places, and then the images at the bottom showing like that. So I'll show you what it looks like when we actually optimize it for mobile. So I'm just going to bring this screen across. We actually use something which plugs straight into our browsers, which says, hey, show me what this website looks like if it's sitting in an iPhone 6 or a iPhone 5, Galaxy, all the different devices, tablets, the whole lot. So we can just test really quickly what the website looks like. There are specific programs that we use to get the exact replica, but this gives us a fairly good idea of what the page will look like. So I'm just going to jump back into that optimized page that we saw before, and what we see now is, I'll just bring this side by side, is we start to scroll down a bit, and there's a nice little mix of text, image, a bit more text. You can see all those 3 featured images have now disappeared, but they're not really required. It'd be too many images in our opinion. There's this section which we got rid of, this featured image here. We thought it was a bit over the top as well. And then case study of Eunice. So once again, text, image, text. Matt, text, image, text. So it's consistent. Julian, text, image, text. And we've actually added an image in the middle here as well, which is and got rid of all those featured images at the bottom. So in our mind, when you look at this on mobile, it's a lot cleaner, a lot more consistent, and it just looks a whole lot nicer. Okay, so I'm going to jump into another website which takes this to a little bit more of the next level, just to show what we can do when we optimize for mobile. And all we're doing here is looking at, okay, when someone's viewing on a desktop, people have a mouse in their hand, and people are quite used to scrolling, clicking back, you know, that stuff. It's a lot easier to do it on a desktop. On a mobile device, we generally have a finger on the mobile device. So pretty much all we're doing is scrolling and occasionally clicking. So it's a lot harder to click back. It's a lot harder to use a lot of the other functionality that you would normally use on a desktop device. So that's part of the reason why we optimize for mobile. So I'm going to give you an example here. So one of the sites we're working on right now, which hasn't been released yet, it's about to get ticked off for approval, is this website here, Hindsight. So this is their About Us page. It's actually getting improved. So that's the way it looks like on desktop. And what's happened with the people who originally built this website is the site wasn't optimized for mobile. So yes, it was responsive. So I'll just resize this. That's what it looks like when you resize the browser. And so I'm just going to bring in our little window here, and you'll notice there's a big gap at the top here. Not necessarily on mobile. Not necessary on mobile. Scroll down, and there's this tiny little book now button, which just looks a bit silly on mobile. All the images and text are smooshed up together. There's this weird gap here, I think, yeah, there's just a couple of weird gaps as well. So it's actually, you know, the page doesn't look that great on mobile. Okay, so what we've done, and yes, we've pulled in a photographer as well, George Fetting. He's actually got some really amazing shots of the practice. So, you know, the site instantly looks a whole lot better. And we've updated the layout of the desktop site as well, so it actually looks a whole lot cleaner. So let's take a look at what this looks like on mobile, and I'll just show you. So I'm going to bring this across. I'll just bring this side by side with the old site. So instantly we've got rid of all this extra white space at the top of the screen here. We've reduced the text a little bit just so it's not so in your face. And what we've done is just use that place an image in the middle of the text that we used on the Troublemaker site. So it just looks a little bit cleaner. It just sits a little bit cleaner. We've got the video in there, so probably not fair to compare that side by side. What we've done as well is we've just optimized this section here a little bit more nicely, so it sort of sits by itself. And we got rid of those, this heading sits out a bit more, but we've moved this thing here, so it now sits all by itself and make your appointment online. So one of the other things that we've done with, I'll show you in a second on the contact page, is we've given the people the ability to book if they're on their mobile as well. So we've got rid of that floating image. I'll just change this a bit, so it looks a bit more nice. And instead of having the image of Narelle right in front of your face, it's like introducing Narelle. There's a heading. Scroll down a little bit, and there's the picture of Narelle there, and it just sits nicely within the text. So we feel that this is much nicer. There's subtle differences, but it's something that makes a big difference to the image of the website. Narelle's business is all about working with lawyers, people who, people in financial markets, people who are used to high quality, and the website needed to reflect the fact that she has high quality as well. So I'm just going to show you one more page in here. This is the contact page, and what we've done with the contact page, it's just little things like the telephone. When you click on it, it actually jumps onto the phone, and people just call straight away rather than having to copy and paste or remember the number. They click on it, and your phone opens up, and it just makes the phone call. Okay, so it gives you the option to actually click the call button, but it literally, this comes up on your screen as if you're just about to call it. Okay, so just little subtle differences like that. So they just make a big difference. Just picked up, we probably before sign off need to add a tiny bit of a gap here. But there's some tiny differences that you can implement on your website. So just thought we'd give you a bit of a run through there. That's the difference between, you've probably heard the word responsive. We've introduced something which is optimized for mobile, same with tablet as well. And the big thing is just switching areas and moving different areas around on the page so they're different for mobile versus desktop, because people use those devices differently. So hope that was helpful, and we'll see you in our next post. Have a great day.